Our second forum features Senate District 45 candidates Jim Smith and Julie Berry. I'll remind the candidates, all comments will be timed, and green means go, yellow means you have 15 seconds, and red means stop. Through a predetermined random draw, Mr. Smith will be first to speak with his opening statements. Ms. Berry will answer the first question. And again, I remind the audience to hold your applause till the end of the forum. Mr. Smith, your opening comments, please.
Well, I'll also thank Leadership Southern Indiana for hosting this forum and allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm State Senator Jim Smith. I was elected in 2010, and the Senate District, for those who don't know, encompasses, it's north of downtown Clarksville and downtown Jeffersonville here in Clark County, all of Scott County, all of Jefferson County, all of Switzerland County, and about a third of Jackson County. I'm glad everyone's here tonight to listen to the issues of the day, and I look forward to the questions. Thank you.
Ms. Berry.
Thank you. I would also like to thank Leadership Southern Indiana for hosting the debate. This is the first true debate that we've had in this Senate district race. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm a former 3-term county commissioner from Jefferson County, Indiana. I also work for Midwestern Engineers, Inc., so I have a good familiarity with water, sewer, storm drainage, and as a commissioner, paving and bridges. Been married to my husband, Pat, for 30 years. We celebrated our 30th anniversary last week. I have 2 children, both of whom are teachers, and a daughter-in-law who's a teacher. My opponent has tried to define me as being a liberal tied very closely with President Obama. I'm a strong woman who can define myself. Thank you very much. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-Second Amendment. I'm pro-business, but also pro-worker, and those are not incompatible positions to me. I have nothing to do with Obamacare, and I think it should probably be improved or replaced. I have a strong background in leadership, which might be of interest to Leadership Southern Indiana. And I have 2 examples that I can offer of that. I was elected president of the Indiana County Commissioners, all 92 counties, in order to speak for them and represent them fairly. And a little closer to home, I was elected the chief elected official for the Indiana Department of Homeland Security Region 9 Oversight Committee. My bipartisan peers have faith and confidence in me. Tonight you'll hear the differences between Senator Smith and myself. I'm confident that you'll see that I would be the best choice to represent the majority views of Southern Indiana. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Berry, when making a decision on big issues facing the people of Indiana, what are the key factors that have gone into or will go into your decisions and ultimately your voting record?
The key factors for me in making any decision is to listen to what the people have to say. I've knocked on over 8,000 doors during this campaign, and I have a pretty good idea what the majority views are in southeastern Indiana. I'll try to make myself accessible through town hall forums. My walk cards have my cell phone number on them. I went to Walmart today. We've been so busy. Senator Smith explained the parameters of this district. My family was out of toothpaste, if you can believe that. So I went to Walmart and was stopped by 5 people giving me their views on a variety of topics. I will take those views, my own personal opinions, but even when my personal opinions differ with the majority views of the district, I feel I must represent the majority views of the district.
Mr. Smith.
Well, that is a fantastically great question. One question that was asked me in 2010, and I struggled in 2010 to answer that question until I got into the General Assembly. And it's a great question because how are you going to make decisions on a variety of issues, from nuclear power plants to the paperwork that the trustee has to fill out. So you have to have a basis from which to make those decisions, a basis from which to jump off, so to speak. And so I asked myself, how does it impact how does it impact Hoosiers? How does it impact Southern Indiana? And when I say impact, is it going to cost you more money? Is it going to make your life more difficult? Is it just another step in the process? And how do we make things easier for Hoosiers? So that is a great question. The way I do it, I think initially, the first year or so, we would follow certain members, and after that, you certainly become.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Darn it.
Mr. Smith, what is your opinion of the Healthy Indiana Plan? What is the best route to take for Indiana in dealing with the issues of affordable health care?
Well, as we all know, Obamacare is here to stay, at least until the next, I guess, until 2 weeks to see if the Senate is taken over by the Republicans to find out if we can repeal Obamacare. Healthy Indiana Plan, here in Indiana, we expanded the Healthy Indiana Plan as an alternative to the Obamacare. And it's not an entitlement. You have to pay something for it. And when I say pay, you might have to pay as little as $15 a year. So we encourage people to participate in the Healthy Indiana Plan. It allows them to take responsibility for their health care and their health care decisions here in Indiana. Thank you.
Ms. Berry.
There's really not a dime's worth of difference between my opponent and myself on this issue. You're going to hear me praise Governor Mike Pence on this issue. I support the Healthy Indiana Plan as an alternative to the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, whatever you call it. And I like the idea of having some personal responsibility in the transactions. I hope, for one, that the federal government approves the waiver that has been put forth by the state of Indiana. I think it's probably the right thing to do. I hope we keep working on it and reach a mutually agreeable position with the federal government and the state of Indiana.
Thank you. Ms. Berry, what can legislators do specifically to combat the soaring cost of higher education?
I wish I had the answer to that. I think that the work councils is a question that came up earlier, and also programs like Project Lead the Way and Dream It, Do It, so you can prepare students while they're in high school for what it is exactly they want to do. A lot of students end up going at least 5 years to college because they don't have a really good idea of what they want to do when they get there. And I think that we need to do a better job of trying to identify the strengths and weaknesses of our students and getting them into the areas. I think that college loans are a good thing, and we need to keep those interest rate lows. I've been disappointed with the national effort on that, but I'm not sure what we can do, but I can tell you that I'll be willing to work with anybody to try to find the right answers.
Mr. Smith.
And believe it or not, I think we agree on a lot of that. That's a $1 million question, and I think you have to ask yourself your question first. How is it that these costs of higher education got so high? And it certainly is this accessibility and this of the student loans. I think we have, I don't know, some obnoxious number, a couple of $1 trillion in student loan debt, which runs the cost of our higher education up. And here in Indiana, we're certainly struggling with that as well. And I'm open for suggestions on that as well. I mean, that is a very, very difficult topic.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, do you believe there is anything you can do to curb the growing proliferation of signs or street spam along our highway or state roadways and on the interstate or state property? Let me pose the question again. Do you believe there is anything you can do to curb the growing proliferation of signs or street spam along our state roadways and on state property?
Gosh, that's a kind of a curveball question. I didn't realize they was even an issue in this state. I don't know. I think my answer is I don't know. So.
Okay.
I would like to suggest that we start with political signs. Let's get rid of them. I think they litter up the landscape. We both agree they're necessary, but kind of a necessary evil. The only way that I could think of to answer that question is that setback requirements for public safety need to be strictly adhered to, and lighting and those kind of things for the public safety So probably some more thought needs to go in with state highway or county road regulations that might impact that issue. I hadn't really thought much about it either, other than I feel certain that you wouldn't want to see a lot of political signs you didn't have to. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Berry, in this scenario, an important vote is pending. A majority of your constituents believe one way about an issue. You, however, are convinced the best course of action goes against the majority. How will you vote and why?
I will hold my nose and vote for the majority views of the district. That's my duty, I feel like. It's my duty to try to ascertain that. It's also my duty to try to lead and educate. So before casting a vote like that, I would try my best to lead and educate. But after all that, if the majority of my constituents believe that the best course of action was a certain vote, that's the vote that I would have to take because I work for them. It's not the other way around.
Mr. Smith.
Well, another very interesting question. I'm not exactly sure how one in the General Assembly, because things move so quickly during session, would find out whether or not this is a majority. I guess we could poll each issue that comes before the General Assembly. I believe we filed some 1,000 bills in the Senate and 1,500, something like that, in the House. That would be a monumental task. I would think that as the elected senator, that the majority of the population agrees with my conservative position on many of the issues, and then it kind of gets us back to how you make decisions on legislation, and that they would agree with me more often than not on the decisions that I make. So that would be just a tough one to come up with on each piece of legislation, or the big pieces.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, would you support allowing riverboat casinos to move to land? Also, would you support additional expansion of gambling in our state? Why or why not?
The answer is no on both counts. I don't support the expansion of any gaming in the state of Indiana, but I do support the profitability of the gaming facilities that are already here. Specifically, there's a facility up in Switzerland County area, and it is so important to the area that it has built the YMCA, or it's built various facilities, and the way it's geographically located, someone could put a gaming facility right across the river in Kentucky and put that community out of business. So what we have done, at least in the last two sessions, is attempt to make our gaming facilities more profitable because of the borders, all the border communities around us changing their gaming laws.
Ms. Berry.
No, I wouldn't to either question either. This district is very large, and we do have a riverboat gambling facility in Switzerland County, and it does revenue sharing with other counties in the district, and I believe Floyd County also does some revenue sharing with their casino here in Clark County. All counties receive riverboat revenue sharing, and I think that we need to remember the original reason that these places were awarded riverboat gambling licenses was because they were the lowest economic areas in the state. They needed the boost, and I think we need to watch out very closely for anything that might impact that, and especially with the competition that's coming in from other states. It'll be high on my priority list.
Thank you. Ms. Berry, what can legislators do to decrease the wage gap between what women earn compared to men in similar professions or positions?
I don't know the answer to that, but it's a dismal statistic, and I think we rank in the bottom 5 of the nation for the disparity. I'm not exactly sure of the statistic, but I know that it's really bad in Indiana. I think that we need to make that statistic known. I think that we need to I don't know that we can legislate our way out of it. I can't think of exactly what the legislation would look like. I'm a lot more concerned really with our per capita income in the state of Indiana than that, although as a woman I feel like I must represent my sex up here and say that it is a dismal, you should be paid the same for the same type of work. So we need to be cognizant of it. I'm open to ideas. I don't know what the specific legislation would be.
Mr. Smith?
And I concur as well. I don't believe that the state of Indiana can legislate its way out of just about anything. That seems to be a private market issue. If someone agrees to work for those pay, then that's the pay that they get. And so, is it an issue? It's very well an issue, but I don't believe it's an issue that the General Assembly could address. And again, I don't even know what that language would look like and how it would be applied. But because every time the government gets involved and started arbitrarily changing wages, therein lies where all the problems come to.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, final question. What specifically would you do to attract jobs to Southern Indiana?
Well, that's a great question. Well, I think it's what I've been doing in the General Assembly over the last 4 years. And that's to create, again, the government and the General Assembly don't create jobs. What we do is create the environment for jobs and for growth, not only for business moving into the state, but our home state organizations, employers that will grow in the state. So what we can do in the General Assembly is to continue to create an environment. And in Southern Indiana, we have a lot of very specific issues that I think need to be addressed. Primarily here in Clark County is the TIF issue, and we certainly hope to address that. Other communities have other constraints that I can't seem to get to in 1 minute, so thank you.
Ms. Berry?
I think I'm the only candidate in this race that has actually worked on successful industry recruitment and expansion teams. That in my home county of Jefferson, both as a volunteer and as an elected official. I think that companies are looking for good schools, good roads, an educated workforce, and just a livability factor. So I will pay attention to opportunities that exist to improve the quality of life in each of the 5 counties that make up the 45th State Senate District. I'll pay attention to that, and I will be willing to help however the local people need me to help in whatever role that might be. Also to watch for state opportunities and let the local people know about them.
Thank you. Ms. Berry, you have 2 minutes for closing remarks.
I would like to thank Senator Smith, my opponent, and all those who participated here tonight in this forum and will participate after us. I think you have the right to expect more from your state senator than what you've been receiving. More civility, more listening, more knowledge of issues, and less party line voting. I am so excited to represent this district, and one of the main reasons is the River Ridge Economic Development Area. It's been a good example of economic development, maybe the best in the Midwest. And the people that are on that board have a lot of frugality, and just to show you what I mean, they still have cows that graze on River Ridge, make a little extra income on that. If the people at River Ridge or anywhere in the district want me to come and sit in on a meeting, go to an agency in Indianapolis, whatever they need me to do, and at River Ridge, if they want me to keep the cows off the road, I'm an old farm girl, I'd be happy to do it. I've knocked on over 8,000 doors during this campaign. Only a handful have asked if I'm a Democrat or a Republican. They don't care. They just want to be represented fairly. That's all they care about. I want to be your state senator, and I ask for your vote and your support, as you will always have mine. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. I too want to thank Julie Berry for coming to the forum this evening and expressing her views. I hope that was informative. I personally believe there are a lot larger issues that are facing the state, and those issues are dramatic, and they impact each and every one of us here in the state of Indiana. So lastly, I'll just encourage everyone to get involved in the process, because the decisions that we make as your leaders, your elected leaders, impact each and every one of you. May not impact you today, but it will certainly impact you at some point. And with that, I will ask you for your support, your continued support, and your vote on Election Day on November the 4th. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 15-minute break. if you need to get up and stretch your legs or use the facilities.